All right, everyone. Hello. It's been a while since I've done the lunchtime time slot. I think, hold on a second. Okay. It's been a while since I've done the lunchtime time slot. I remember during the COVID year, I did these a lot on Fridays. But YouTube is when you're a YouTuber, it's a constant process of evolution. And I realized once things got back to normal in the post-COVID years, it's best to do your prediction videos, your pregame videos for the next opponent early in the week. That's for me. That's logistically, that makes the most sense for my channel. I get more views that way. Shout out to Johnny Olden, the GOAT. As soon as his videos goes up, boom, he gets a lot of views, and rightfully so, because he's really, really good at what he does. But I'm saying that to say that I haven't done the lunchtime time slot in a while. And the other thing is, we haven't seen Buckeye Alex in a while. And some of you have been asking for Buckeye Alex, and I've let him know that his fan base in my subscriber base has been asking for him. So for the first time in a while, on the eve of week 5 of the college football season, the 2023 edition, Buckeye Alex is going to come back and we're going to chop it up for about an hour. There's a lot to talk to. I'm sorry, not a lot to talk to. There's a lot to get to, and there's a lot for us to go over in the last week and in terms of how the season is going to play out going forward for the next 2 months. Let me make sure I can see myself on YouTube. Please smash that like button if you haven't. The likes are free, and they help out a whole lot with the engagement. I want to thank everyone who has subscribed to the channel thus far. I'm talking about my new subs. I appreciate you. Thank you for subbing. Later on tonight, I'll be back here. This is today is going to be a triple header for me. I'm doing 2 streams over here. This one, and then I'm doing one here later on tonight with a basketball coach from Western New York. That one's going to involve my book project, The Engineers of Western New York Basketball Story. I'm going to interview Coach Carlos Bradbury, who is actually in my book. So I'm doing this stream. I'm doing that one later on tonight. And then before that, I'm doing something over on my original channel on Coach Prime.
What's up, boss? You believe that? Hold on. Oh no. Do you believe in that?
I haven't really touched Coach Prime over here. I haven't really talked about the Coach Prime bonanza and the Coach Prime craze in a meaningful, substantive way over here. That doesn't mean I won't, but over on my original channel, later on, probably around 6:30, I'm going to have a talk about the Coach Prime bonanza from a business perspective, from a careers perspective, and from an academics perspective. So today is a triple header for me, and this is part 1 of the triple header. Our guest of honor is right there in the chat. I see someone else watching. Please smash that like button. I suspect once Alex comes up onto the stage here, the views will go way up because Alex brings the crowd with him, and he is that popular. And he is our representative from the Buckeye fan base. So I'm gonna play my Michigan versus Nebraska intro, and then I will bring Buckeye Alex up because we are on our lunch breaks and we have a little bit of time for this. So Michigan this week is playing Nebraska. If you haven't watched my pre-Nebraska video, please take a look at that. That is in my library, and I think it's the video right before this one. Go Blue. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar. This is, where is it? This is Big Discussions 76 Sports. If you're new, please consider subscribing. Shout out to Bo Lytle, as respect is earned. Also, please consider smashing that like button. Once again, shout out to Bo Lytle, as respect is earned. I am not a Michigan insider. So you have to go see James Yoder and Sam Webb and Devin Gardner and Lance Bedford and Coach Borges and Steve Dace and those guys. I am a Michigan alum. I did my PhD there, and I am a Michigan football fan. I was actually there for the bulk of the final years of Lloyd Carr's tenure. Tom Brady's senior season was my first year as a grad student at the University of Michigan. So I saw Tom Brady play. I saw the team under Drew Henson's leadership. I saw the team under John Navarre's leadership. I saw the team under those quarterbacks, and I saw the coming of Jim Tressel and Troy Smith and Ted Ginn Jr. I saw the Maurice Clarett season. So I am an alumni, and I am a fan, and I am also a writer. I'll be talking about my book later on tonight's interview. So with that, I think that's everything. So I can't play the Ohio State song, The Victors, Let's Go Blue. Those are all considered public domain. So I can play those songs, and I've played those songs without getting a copyright strike. The Ohio State fight song, unfortunately, is not public domain. So I cannot play the Ohio State fight song. But I have something just as good. I have two participants who gave us some classic smack. Shout out to Jim Rome in the Jungle and the Clones in the Jungle. I have two participants who gave us some classic smack from last weekend. One, Coach Ryan Day, and one, Coach Lou Holtz. So I will bring Alex in with Ryan Day looking for Lou Holtz, and also Lou Holtz giving his prediction on how his Fighting Irish were going to do that morning against the Ohio State University. A word from Ryan Day.
I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. What he said about our team, I cannot believe.
Coach Day, how tough is your team? Oh, I don't think I have that one queued up. That's okay. Coach Holtz, how are you going to do against how did you think you were going to do against Ohio State last week?
Notre Dame is a better football team than Ohio State.
Not hearing that, please, Coach.
And let me tell you why. Defensively, our defensive line's better. And you look at Coach Day, and I coached at Ohio State under Woody Hayes. We won the national championship when I was there.
That's right.
So I'm proud of that. However,
no, but actually, this was Lou's main point. This is what got Ryan Day a little. This is what chapped his hide. I promise, Buckeye Alex will come up after this one.
he has lost to Alabama, Georgia,
Right.
Clemson, Michigan twice, and everybody that beats him does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame will take that same approach.
Alex, the link is right there. We got to hear that one more time. I love the way the crowd eggs him on every time. I love hearing that.
He has lost to Alabama, Georgia,
Right.
Clemson, Michigan twice, and everybody that beats them does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame will take that same approach.
Alex, the link is there if you want to come up. I have some things queued up here for me and Alex to talk about while he fights off his interlocutors in the chat. I'm going to start with the top 25 rankings. I went over this in my Michigan-Nebraska pregame show. So there he is. Hello, sir.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Very good, very good. Thanks. Thanks for having me back. It's been a while.
All right.
It's been a while.
Hope you're well. We've been talking offline, and I'll just say that we get up here, we have fun. In our text group, we have fun, but sports is it gives us something to talk about. In many instances, it distracts us from the day-to-day rigors of life. So, but we have real lives. So
yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
I appreciate you taking some of your valuable time out here to come and hang out with us. As I've described, people have been asking about you. some of the usual suspects have been asking about you, and I said he's there. He'll be back. He'll be back.
Yeah. So full disclosure. Actually, the Notre Dame game is the first game that I watched this season. Because people have been asking where I've been at. Unfortunately, my mom passed away at the very end of August, so second to last week in August. So I kind of been dealing with that. It's been rough, but I was with my family this past weekend, and we're kind of all of us together. It's kind of like I think my brother's been watching a couple games and here and there, but it was the first game that I had watched this season, so I've seen some clips here and there, but it was the first full game that I was able to catch.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so based upon you heard Lou Holtz's trash talk beforehand, and then Ryan Day's response afterwards. Where, well, first of all, what did you think of your team? Of what you saw? I heard Kyle McCord made a game-saving throw at the end, and
I've been on record saying I really wanted Devin Brown to be the starter for this team. I'm not sure where my position is on that. I think Kyle McCord, very similar to JJ's progression, because they were both top-rated players in their class. The bottom line is neither one of those guys really have had any reps, right, regarding starts. So it's really Kyle McCord's fourth start of his career. We're not really going to count the one a couple years ago against Akron, but I think they just kind of have to learn, and the more reps that you get, the better you get, the more comfortable that you get. One thing I can say is in that game, one thing I noticed is when he has huge cojones, and he never, to me, it really felt like he never felt pressured. He was very even killed the whole game. He made some really bad throws, very similar to kind of JJ. And I'm just doing the comparison so people can kind of see where I'm going with this. JJ in his first couple starts looked terrible. And I was calling for the quarterback who won the Big Ten championship to be the starter. I think you definitely want the more dynamic player on the field, but it's all a process. It's all a learning process. He did step up and make some really good throws when it counted, but he missed some really good throws as well. And looking at the game easily could have been 31-14. And that's not all on Kyle. There are some offensive line issues with Ohio State, where they basically trying to run jet sweeps and they can't basically pick up a yard on 4th and 1. And if they get those 4th and 1s and they punch it in, you're looking at probably a 31-17 lead. Even if they kick the field goals and don't go for it, you're looking at 23-14. So Notre Dame, it's interesting. They held the ball, I want to say, 3/4 of the time, and Ohio State still shot themselves in the foot, getting themselves in position to score. And there's some offensive line issues, like I said, that they're driving down the field. There's a penalty, sets them back. And one thing I can say that I'm very, very shocked at is the defense. The defensive line played okay. The linebackers did not play very well. The secondary played amazing. It was probably Jim Knowles' best called game, I believe, to hold a team that's scoring 40 points a game to 14. That's a big deal. So I think right now they're playing their worst football. They're just trying to win games. And I heard somebody say, I can't remember who it was, that if Ohio State won 17-14 every game this year, what would happen? They win a national championship. And sometimes it has to be ugly. I mean, Michigan fans know all about the ugliness of winning a game. Sometimes games are just ugly. It's not all necessarily about style points. So I think they have a long ways to go. I think they have some huge tests in front of them. And then, the teams like Penn State going to Madison, you can't necessarily take those games for granted. And I'm hoping that they just this puts them over the hump where they're going to be playing their best football at the end of the year, because I don't believe they're playing their best football right now.
Okay, so let's go back. So you said that Notre Dame, and I haven't been following Notre Dame as closely. You said they averaged 40 points a game?
Yeah, close to 40 points a game, yeah.
Okay, so thank you for mentioning that, because that does bring things into a little more context, and it gives us more clarity. Because if they were putting up that amount of points, then to hold them to 14, that's significant.
It's a big deal. And listen, Notre Dame is a very good football team. I think very similar to the game last year against Georgia. Ohio State was the better team that day and still lost. I think Notre Dame and Ohio State are evenly matched. I believe Notre Dame is more comparable to Michigan than it is to Ohio State. And what I mean by comparable is the style of play that they have. I mean, they have huge. They're saying that they have the best offensive line. I think Michigan has had the best offensive line for the past 3 or 4 years. Even in the years that they lost, I think they've had the best offensive line in football, at least for the last 3 years. So I think the main thing is that Ohio State has never been a team that, for a long time, probably since Tressel, that they've been able to just win an ugly game, right? Like, just an ugly, disgusting, things don't go your way, you're shooting yourself in the foot, false starts, and holding brings you back, and while you're driving, just not a very sexy game. It was a very ugly game. And I think if you play that game 10 times, I think you're kind of split right down the middle. I think Notre Dame is a very, very, very good football team, and it was unfortunately they didn't. They came up short. They came up short on last Saturday, but I think, like I said, you play that game right now 10 out of 10 times, you might split it down the middle, because I think they're both very, very good physical teams.
Okay, well, word on the street is, and again, I didn't watch the game in its entirety. I only saw the last 2 to 3 minutes. Apparently, there were some coaching blunders by Marcus Freeman and his staff as well, in terms of clock management of timeouts, and also there's the infamous 10 men on the field thing.
Yeah. So with that, I think yes, they had 10 men on the field. I think one thing that's interesting is, if you go back and look at that play, the left tackle had nobody to block. So he could have taken the penalty and basically been on the half yard line, which they sneak it in anyway. Or you just kind of, I think 2 plays. I think think this is part of him being a very young coach. I hope that he learns from this mistake. And listen, for anybody who's ever coached, new coaches, we make some bonehead mistakes. I know I've made some bonehead mistakes in my day, coaching wise. So, I hope he learns from it. And, they have to get that, down. If you remember a couple years ago, Michigan was having issues rotating defensive players on the field. I'm not sure if you remember that, like where they couldn't, for some reason they just, I can't remember the NFL coach. He just didn't understand how to rotate players in college. This might
Yeah,
be one of those situations where, they just didn't rotate the right players in and out, and you realize it, and then you just kind of have to. I mean, you're already behind the 8 ball because they're at the 1 yard line. I mean, I think either way, Ohio State was going to score, and they're going to score the go ahead touchdown. I'd be very surprised if anybody, if you go back and look at the tape, and look at that left side. I mean, like the left tackle kind of crashed down, and then the safety or the linebacker kind of came around, and he was so wide, that he wasn't going to get him anyway. So he had got him at basically the half-yard mark, and all he did was lean into the end zone. So it happens. Listen, it happens. We've seen this, numerous amounts of times. People are human. They make mistakes as coaches. It eats people up inside. I know personally, in a game last year, I was playing a team and we were kind of locking them up, and I have this rule out of timeouts. You always change your defense, and I changed my defense, and a team scored 20 points in a row, and the game was over pretty much. So, it just happens. It happens. So, I hope he learns from it. Notre Dame is a very good football team, and they I would not be surprised if they're in the playoff this year. How good they are. So, I
okay.
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so the Michigan defensive coordinator you were referring to was Mike Macdonald. He was here
That's it, Mike Macdonald. Yeah.
And then he went back to the Ravens, and I think
Mhm.
that reared its ugly head against Mel Tucker in Michigan State,
It did. Yeah.
where Kenneth Walker went off in the second half. So that appears to be a thing when coaches who come from the NFL to the college ranks for the first time.
Yeah, like I said, it happens. I think I don't know who the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame is. I'm not sure who it is. Listen, it might be Marcus Freeman. He might be the defensive coordinator. I don't know. But those things sometimes they happen. The issue is, I think, in this scenario that it happened at like the worst time possible. But it happens, throughout the season on every FBS or Division One or NAIA school. Like sometimes those things just happen, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, yeah. A lot of people are still pretty bullish on that Notre Dame team. Even
They should be. They should be. Notre Dame is a very, very good football team. I think that Ohio State gave the blueprint to beat them. But they are a very, very well coached. They're good on both sides of the offensive defensive line. Both, they're very good in the trenches. I'm not really bullish on their wide receivers that much. They have a lot of good running backs. I mean, Notre Dame's been the same kind of blueprint team for the past, I don't know, 8-9 years. They just really haven't had a competent quarterback, and I believe they have that in Sam Hartman.
Okay. Well, let's take a quick look at the stats from that game. So McCord, he put it up quite a few times. He went 21 for 37 for 240 yards. No touchdowns thrown. Sam Hartman went 17 for 25 for 175 yards and 1 touchdown. Okay. Travion Henderson carried the ball 14 times for 104 yards and 1 TD. Their leading rusher was this Estime kid. with 14 carries for 70 yards. Emeka Egbuka, I'm not used to saying that, caught 7 balls for 96 yards. And you just said you're not high on the wide receivers. This Evans kid caught 7 balls for 75 yards.
Yeah, I think they basically kept everything in front of them, and I think the 4-2-5 that they run right now, I think they need to sometimes when you play a team like Notre Dame, I think you probably need to have a bigger safety or corner closer to the line of scrimmage to give that 4-3 look. That's just my personal opinion, but I think they probably, the defense was probably Jim Knowles' best called game as a defensive coordinator at Ohio State, and I think the defense is playing very, very well. Even I think Ohio State had 1 sack where JTT on the right side just pushed the right tackle back into Sam Hartman on a bull rush. But outside of that, they really didn't get pressure on the quarterback all day. That offensive line in Notre Dame is really, really good.
Okay. So it looks like when both of your backs are healthy, Travion's going to get the majority of the carries because Mayan Williams, he only carried the ball once.
Yeah, I think he's been nicked up a little bit. And I think that's a huge issue for Ohio State. They got to figure out the running game. Travion basically averaged 2.4, 2.3 yards a carry. He had one 60-yard run, but that's the thing with Travion is if you get him out in space, he's probably going to score. It's just trying to scheme to get him out in space. I actually think Chip Trayanum is the better, more all-around running back. But there's a lot of things that you can do with Travion. But I think pure running back, I think Chip Trayanum is better. But I think that you kind of have to balance that, and I think they're doing a good job thus far of balancing the carries and things like that. So the main thing is the offensive line. The offensive line play has been it's been bad, and even with it being bad, Ohio State still had the opportunity to probably put up 30 points and just didn't.
Okay. What's going on, Michael? Thank you for stopping through. Go Blue. We got Buckeye Alex here. Okay, we'll do a few more of the stats, Alex. Let's see. Make sure the technology is working. So that the Trayanum kid, he carried the ball 6 times. Let's see. Emeka Egbuka caught 7 balls. Case Stover caught 7 balls. Marvin caught 3.
Yeah.
Were they double covering him?
Yeah, they did a bracket coverage, which is basically jam on the line and there's a safety rolling over the top of him at all times. And he was hurt in the game for a little bit. Didn't necessarily miss. He didn't miss a series, but he got hurt in the game and really wasn't effective. And they basically were, they weren't going to let Marvin Harrison beat them. Is essentially what was going on. So they do a lot of things up the seam, wheel routes where they might wheel Cade Stover. They might have a Mecca up the seam. That's kind of what happened on the throw to the 1-yard line with about 17 seconds left in the game. So, I mean, listen, that's kind of what you want as a football team, especially when you have the wide receivers that you have. You take one away and the other one's going to beat you. You take the other one away, the other one's going to beat you. So I really think that they do need to find a third option.
Your attention, please.
I just wanted to remind you that Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance.
Okay.
In fact, it's so easy. It reminds me
All
of a
right.
joke my mate.
Can you still hear me? You still there?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. I know. StreamYard, I think, has been acting funny for everybody the last 2 weeks. So when you stopped talking, I didn't know if you stopped talking or anyway.
Get it?
Please smash that like button if you haven't. Michael Burden says
It's easy to Geico.
the 10-man stand.
Baseball.
All right. let's talk about your defense
matchup,
really,
man.
really
Great
quickly.
Opportunity, not only just for the defense, but
You guys
the
had a
entire
couple of
team.
tackles
What are some of the
for
things that you've
loss.
seen from the film study
No
side
sacks
that
here.
you
Was
guys have to make sure that
Sam Hartman just getting the ball out that quickly,
attention
or
to
you
detail
guys
on
have
the
an effective
defensive
pass
side
rush?
in order for you to walk away with the win?
You know, big attention. We have to pay attention to the running backs. You definitely
I
have to
think
wrap
there
up
is
on them. They have a good group of running backs, you know, a good group of receivers.
I think there
We've just been watching what
is
they like to do, all the different formations. And
one
we've
of
just
the
been
videos
studying
on there is
down.
playing.
You know, they're explosive offense, and we just got to make sure we're dialed in into every call and be able to recognize the different formations that they come out in.
Alex?
Speaking of
Yeah, can you
dialed
hear
in,
me?
Maxwell, I
Yeah, I
know
can hear
you
you.
guys watched a ton of film going into Vandy, especially when it comes to what
Okay,
happened in
maybe it's me
2022. And the fact that Vandy went to Lexington and got that win, you guys came out with a passion and a purpose. How would you describe all 11 guys
Okay, Alex
on
is
that
gonna
side of the ball for
come
your
back.
team?
I was just asking
No, all
him
11
about
guys, you know, whether on offense, defense,
the
or on special teams,
well, we
we just
moved
all
on to
took this
defense.
serious. You know, this is more than just a game because, you know, they came to our
And
field and beat us. So we felt like we needed to
a
pay them
little
a
of
visit,
both. Michael says a little
and, you know,
of
avenge
both.
ourselves. And we just went out
Okay,
there,
he's
played
back.
fast, and executed. And, you
Keep
know,
our
the
fingers
results are
crossed
the
at this
results.
technology.
Well, and obviously you were a huge part of that. We were telling you about how last week Ray Davis, your teammate, came on the show and he did a little play-by-play for
Alex
some
is
of
back.
his explosive plays the week before. So now,
Okay, I think
Takeo,
there's
we want to
something
give
that's
you the
playing in the
opportunity,
background.
Maxwell, to
For
do
me?
that with your two pick
Yeah.
sixes. So we're going to cue it up and we're going to let you talk over what you remember seeing and
okay.
gives a little TV
So,
angle
all right,
from your
let
own
me
point of view.
minimize
All right.
this.
There you go. Okay, perfect.
That ESPN site is problematic.
Yeah, they want you to see everything on there. That's kind of
All
how
right.
they. Yeah. So I'm sorry, I forgot where we kind of left off at.
I was saying that it didn't look like you guys had any sacks in that game. So was Sam Hartman getting the ball out that quickly, or was it that you guys weren't getting a pass rush?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I think even in some of his 5 and 7 step drops, listen, that offensive line, they're that good. They're just that good. But I think at the end of the day, when he's a very, I think he's been in school for 5 or 6 years. He's a very knowledgeable, smart quarterback. He is going to kind of cut you up, get the ball out quickly. He's not gonna really have any turnovers. So I think it matches what Notre Dame really wants to do on offense. And I think at the end of the day, Ohio State, they just have to get pressure on the quarterback. I mean, allowing 14 points for a team that was scoring 40 is great, but you really want to put pressure on him so we can create some type of to possibly create turnovers in the future. So they have to get that fixed on the defensive line as well. And the defensive line hasn't been getting a lot of pressure as a whole this year, from what I'm hearing. I think they had a couple sacks here and there with lesser competition, but they're not the what we're used to seeing from an Ohio State defensive line in past years.
Okay. What was Knowles going with the zero coverage, or was he?
No. So no, listen, he actually did a really good job of kind of switching back and forth between a press man and zone. It was a beautiful thing to watch. I mean, everything was kept in front of him. They might have got 10 yards. There were no yards after the catch. He limited the explosive plays, which is what the 4-2-5 is supposed to do, is limit the explosive plays. So I think all in all, it was a very good game plan. There are some things that do need some cleanup regarding the linebackers. I think they probably played their worst game I've ever seen them play, and Notre Dame still only scored 14 points. So now I think we kind of, once you get out in the weeds, you're kind of nitpicking. But you also understand that, you have to play a team like Penn State, which is very dangerous. You have to play the team up north, which is very dangerous, and you have to go out to Wisconsin this year as well. So they're no slouch. So just got to get those things cleaned up before they go out there and play those games.
Okay, I'm gonna do a few more stats here, then we'll move on because we're at about 30 minutes. Let's see. That was a pretty even matchup. You all had 19 first downs. Notre Dame had 22. You all generated 366 total yards. Notre Dame generated 351. You all, Ohio State generated 240 passing yards. Notre Dame generated 175. Ohio State generated 126 rushing yards. Notre Dame generated 176. You all had 5 penalties for 35 yards. Notre Dame had 4 penalties for 50. And then Ohio State held the ball for 25 minutes and 1 second. And Notre Dame held the ball for 34 minutes and 59 seconds. So there were some similarities there, and there were some stats that were a little bit lopsided one way. But you guys came out with a W.
Yeah, I think that's all that matters. Like I said, last year we played Georgia. We were the better team. I actually believe Ohio State was the best team in the country last year. And I just thought they were going to go in there and smoke Georgia, and they did for about 3 quarters. And then, sometimes the better team doesn't always win. That's football. You just got to pick up and move on to the next week or move on to the next season. That it happened. So, listen, kind of going back to the Lou Holtz clip, I respect his opinion. But I'll say this: I'm going to throw out the 2020 season where Ohio State played Alabama, because their whole defensive line got COVID. Half their starters had COVID, so they really didn't play. The SEC wasn't holding players out for COVID testing, so I'm going to throw that one out. The Clemson game, there's a penalty on Sean Wade, throws him out the game, which was the worst call I probably have seen in college football. And then there's a Georgia game, and and then you have the 2 games up north. One game, you just got beat. It was a close game, but you just got beat. Last year, they just played tight. They played tight in the second half. I think they had the game in hand. I think Jim Knowles learned. Hopefully, he learned from that mistake. I think a lot of that is it's a learning process. I don't think he makes the same mistakes last year that he made last year this year. We'll see. But I mean, if you kind of give some context to it, he still only lost 6 games in his tenure. So I understand that we have the biggest fan base in the country, but he still has only lost 6 games in his tenure. He's beating everybody. It's just those 1 or 2 things just sometimes they don't break your way, and it just so happened that they didn't break Ohio State's way, and hopefully the pendulum swings in the opposite direction where those things do break Ohio State's way in the future.
Okay, Alex, so I'm going to play the triple, and then I'm going to come back and make a comment. Hold on.
Sometimes people that are standing on third base think they hit a triple, but they didn't. All right, thanks.
So you just mentioned something significant. I think that there's something about winning the majority of your games, and then you still have to beat your rivals, and then you still have to win your bowl games. You still have to win the big games. So even if you win the majority of your games, we went through this with Jimbo, and he still hasn't gotten a quality, with the exception of maybe his first year, he still hasn't gotten a quality bowl game win. So yeah, he was winning 75% of his games, 78%, but he wasn't winning the big ones. So do you think Ryan Day is kind of in that little rut right now?
I don't, because nobody remembers that Ohio State came back the next year and smoked Clemson. Nobody remembers that.
Okay.
So it just kind of, I think the needle that Ohio State is trying to thread in the Big Ten is you have to have a defense that can play against multiple types of offenses, right? They have to play against the spread, against the power run, wing T, whatever everybody wants to run in the Big Ten, okay? Then you have to beat your rival. Then you have to go to the conference championship, win that game. Then you have to go out and play the SEC. So you have to have a defense and an offense that can do multiple things, which is why I believe Michigan has gotten smoked when it comes to the semifinal and title games because they don't have that next gear to play against teams like the SEC. They're playing a style that it's a Big Ten style, but you can't convert and then go play a different type of style. I mean, Michigan is who they are, and listen, they beat Ohio State twice, being who they are. But if we're talking about, it's a different conversation when we're talking about national championships and winning bowl games for national championships versus your rivalry versus the competition in your conference. It's different.
I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I think, well, certainly talent-wise, we were overmatched against Georgia 2 years ago. I also think that there's a coaching component, and I think that Jim and his coaching staff, they'll have to do a better job there if they make it back to the playoff. Because as you just said, you can't just line up and assume that the running attack is going to win everything against Georgia or Alabama the way it would against Big Ten opponents, because it won't.
Yeah. I think Ohio State kind of showed that. Like I said, they, I think outside of that 2020 game, I mean, they have played toe to toe with the SEC teams. So, but then you have the outlier that the style of play for a team like Michigan is kind of their Achilles heel. So like I said, it's a very, even for Michigan that I mean, they've been to the playoff twice. You can clearly see that I believe, just looking at it, and this is not because I grew up hating Michigan, I'm just looking at it, from with my own eyes. They're not a team. They're closer to TCU than they are to Alabama and Georgia, and I think Ohio State is closer to Ohio State and Georgia than they are to TCU. I mean, Alabama and Georgia than they are to TCU. But the difference is that style is like, for some reason, that style is Ohio State's Achilles heel. I don't know why. It could be coaching, it could be mentality, or it just could be. I mean, like I said, that the first game up in Ann Arbor, I mean, that was a close game. Listen, they tightened up and Ryan Day couldn't figure out how to score once he got to the 20-yard line. That's something that he needed to clean up. And then last year, I just believe, I mean, they went to the game with the lead. The mistakes that Michigan capitalized on were due to poor scheming and poor game calling. Right? We're talking, you're playing zero coverage for no apparent reason on the third down. I don't know who plays zero coverage on third down. On like third and long, you're playing zero coverage. And then you have a poor missed tackle. Guy takes it to the house. And then you have a safety that takes a really bad angle on a double move, gets beat. It's a wide open touchdown. So you take those two things off the board. I think Ohio State wins that game, and to me that's kind of on Jim Knowles. The reason why they didn't win last year, I think that's kind of on him. They didn't play. The defense did not play very well. They weren't very gap sound, and I've said this before. Like even towards the end of the game, they weren't gap sound. So that's all defense and coaching. That's all that is. And hats off to Michigan for understanding it, taking advantage of it. That's what teams should do. But I mean, that's kind of like I said, it's for teams in the Big Ten, and I'm hoping that the addition to USC, to Oregon, will start to change that style of play a little bit. That will allow us to play a different type of style that's comparable to the SEC. Because I believe that unless you have one of the best teams ever assembled, like the 2015 Ohio State team, that just, that I think that team can play anybody and beat them. Unless you have like that type of assembled talent and coaching on your team, it's going to be very hard to thread that needle coming out of the Big Ten to win the national championship.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think, as a Michigan fan, I think there were a mixture of things. I mean, certainly Yeah, playing that zero coverage was a gamble.
It was
And then
stupid.
I think there was a stretch where it might have been in the third quarter. I know CJ Stroud wanted to go for it. I thought you guys were going to go for it because you guys were like close to that first down marker. And I think maybe Ryan Day got a little tentative or something.
They played tight.
Yeah, a couple things happened there.
Yeah.
Okay. We're at 45 minutes. Let's take a quick look at the top 25. You guys jumped over a couple of teams. And interestingly, last night Steve Day said that he might rank you guys over us. I don't know if that was just that far. I don't know if that was just him talking to kind of manage expectations, but he said I might rank Ohio State over Michigan right now. So go ahead.
I think because of the win, it makes sense. But I would not do that until probably maybe mid-season. I think you have to see how a couple things kind of shake out in Big Ten play.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, yeah, this is where we are right now. This could change by the end of the season. Georgia hasn't moved. Michigan hasn't moved. There's been a lot of movement under that. Alabama has fallen to number 12. So they don't seem like it doesn't seem like they're going to be a factor unless they go on a magical run the rest of the season.
Yeah, they already have one loss. So I think for them, they just have to win out and play Georgia in the SEC championship and see what happens.
Okay. Let me take a look at the rest of this group. Florida State, I think, is still in the mix. Penn State, we're going to get to them. Washington, USC, and Oregon. So there's some business that has to be taken care of in our conference and then out there in the Pac-12. Going to take a quick look at our standings. You can't really tell much from it now because it's only week 2. Well, actually, some people have already started their Big Ten schedules.
Yeah.
But right now, there's that early season log jam at the top. That's eventually going to work itself out. In the East, everybody thinks it's going to be a 3-team race between us, you guys, and Penn State. Nobody knows who's going to win the West. I thought Iowa was going to show a little bit more.
I did too. I really did too. And they goose-egged against Penn State. So
they blew a fart against Penn State. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's safe to say the Kirk Ferentz era is over, unfortunately.
Well, his son is taking quite a beating. You think the entire Ferentz era is over?
Yeah, I think it's over. I really hope that they keep that defense, though. Whatever defense that, like, if they just keep him as a defensive coordinator, that'd be great because their defense has been really, really good over the years. But, you bring in a guy like Cade, Caleb Burton, Eric All. Eric All's there too, right? Eric All.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You would think that they'd be able to generate some type of points on the board against a team like Penn State, and it did not go that way at all. So I'm shocked by that.
Okay, so you guys have a bye this week. It looks like.
Yeah, we're on a bye week. Yep.
So your next game is a big one against Talia.
Yes.
But it's in your house. Okay.
Yeah.
So that should be a W for you guys. It should be.
It should be. But listen, in football, nothing is ever guaranteed. So you got to show up, and just bring it. Those games, the defense is playing a lot better. I think this is a really good test for the defense because like I said, their design is to stop pass happy offenses, and the run. I mean, it's kind of designed for both if you have the versatility to do so. So I mean, we saw how it manned up against a team like Notre Dame, having the 14 points, and they're a run heavy offense. And now let's see how they do against the pass, because Taulia Tagovailoa is a very dynamic player at quarterback, and he can really, really pass the football.
Okay. So you guys, we have the end of the season matchup against each other. You guys have Penn State later in October. Okay. So that's the other, and you guys go up to Wisconsin the week after. You've mentioned Wisconsin a couple of times. Are you guys concerned about that game?
I think anytime you go to Wisconsin, you should be concerned. Now they do not look very good right now, but it's early, right? Everybody knows things can, especially in the Big Ten, West, can things can move week to week. With Wisconsin out there playing the teams in the West, I mean, they might get some really good wins, some confidence, and then you never know, they'll be off to the races. So Wisconsin is always playing at Wisconsin is always a tough game for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is. I mean, Georgia went up there a couple years. It was either Georgia, Alabama went up there, or LSU went up there a couple years ago, and it was a tough game. It was not easy. So something about Camp Randall, but I don't take them for granted. I don't take any team in the Big Ten for granted anymore.
Okay. I'm going to pull up
except Michigan State.
Except Michigan. Oh, dude.
Michigan
let me just do a quick look at our schedule, then we'll talk about that. And if Michael, can you hang on for 10 more minutes, Alex? If Michael wants to say something,
I got a hard stop at 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael, do you want to come up for a minute? Yes, no, maybe. Alex hasn't been here in a while. You guys tend to play well together. You want to come up, Michael?
Mike knows I love him.
Michael, if you want to come up, the link is right there. If not, I'll start to wind this down. Alex has a hard stop at 1. Okay, so we have Nebraska this week. That should be a W. We've got Penn State on November 11th. So that's the other big game. That Maryland game is a potential trap game for us. Michael says next time. Okay. Just want to give you that opportunity. You're a loyal, consistent sub, and I appreciate that. And you and Alex tend to play well together. So, we have Penn State and then Maryland the week after. That's a potential trap game. And I know Taulia wants that win against us really bad.
He should have got it last year.
Should have got it last year.
He should have got it last year.
Yeah, there was that one. I'll never forget that one throw over the middle. He didn't see it. That would have been a big first down for them.
Not only that, like his receivers missed a couple balls that they dropped a couple balls they shouldn't have dropped last year. So yeah, I know he wants that one back really bad, but it's going to be. I'm assuming they played at Maryland, so that game's at Michigan, right? This year?
No, it's here. I'm going to go to that one.
That was at
no, last year it was at the Big House.
Yeah, it was at the Big House last year. It's in Maryland this year. Okay, I thought it was in Maryland last year. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then we have you guys Thanksgiving weekend again. So, Mike says Penn State is on Veterans Day. Mike, those tickets are going for $200 right now. They were about a week ago, $200, and there weren't a lot of them. I'd like to go to that game. So, Alex, before your hard stop, any thoughts on Michigan State?
It's unfortunate, man. That program has been through. Listen, that school, not the program, the school has been through a lot. And we're obviously assuming that the allegations against Mel Tucker are true. I feel sorry for the kids. I've been in that position where there's a scandal and you really have no part of it, but you're collateral damage. It's tough. I feel really bad for those kids. You know, I hope that they bring somebody in there from an administrative and athletic standpoint that can really just hold the standard that Mike D'Antoni kind of left there. You know, it's kind of really sad to see what's happened since he's left. Because, you know, Michigan State was, I mean, they were a tough team for Ohio State to play every single year. They kind of had Ohio State's number, and a couple times here and there, there's a tough team. And I can say they kind of took the blueprint that Michigan is using now, where the kids at Ohio State didn't recruit, they would come down and recruit those kids. And that's similar to what Michigan's doing right now. So maybe that's the reason why they have the drop in talent. But I really, you know, I take the allegations seriously. But again, you know, nobody was there except those two individuals to know exactly what happened. And you know, I think in general, as you know, for Mel Tucker, you just got to be smarter. And for the kids, you know, I hope you land somewhere. If you decide to stay, that's great, and you want to be a part of the change, that's a beautiful thing. Because I know that motivates some people to be part of the change of a situation. And you know, I thought Northwestern was gonna kind of be the story in this, you know, kind of trump that. So I think overall the Big Ten commissioner, he has a lot of things he needs to make sure that he's doing. I think with those schools, because you know the commissioner works for those schools, I think that he needs to make sure that they're bringing in the right people and vetting them appropriately. So I think the craziest thing about the Michigan State story is that just they handled it. I think they handled it terribly. But you know, I mean, hindsight is 20/20, 50/50 if you're Cam Newton. So you never know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean this would take a while to talk about, but Mike Valenti, he's no friend of our program.
I bet he's not.
Yeah, he's been very critical of Harbaugh over the years, but yeah, him and his co-host Rico, they were saying that this is the best case scenario. It's over. They can start looking for a new coach.
I agree.
And apparently Mel, despite his early success, well, he had early success against us.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, he wasn't having a lot of success recruiting players into the program, quality players.
No, he was not.
And apparently,
no, he wasn't.
His assistants, he wasn't hiring top-notch assistants either. So,
you know, I think when you're at that level, when you're at the top part of any type of athletics, whether it be high school, college, pros, you are about as good as the talent you have on your roster and your assistant coaches. The head coach at those levels is just the CEO. He's just the overseer of everything, the overseer of the offense, defense, special teams, etc. But you know, if you're not hiring the right people, that can really bite you in the butt. So, like I said, hopefully, listen. I've always liked Michigan State. I have a healthy respect for them. For the games that they have played against Ohio State in the past. They've always been somebody that I've rooted for. So I hope that, you know, I mean, I love Kirk Cousins because he was from Michigan State. So I really hope that they get that thing figured out, because I think if they do, it's going to be better for you know, it's better for everybody. It's better for the Big Ten. It's better for everybody if Michigan State, you know, gets those things figured out in their program.
Okay. Well, all right, Alex, it is about 1:00. I should go on and do some other things myself here. Actually, I better.
Yeah.
So thank you. Good to see you again.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, everyone. That was Buckeye Alex. Some of his other fans weren't here, but it's a long season. We have about 2 more months left. So Alex will be back, and so will I. I will be back a little. Well, tonight again, I'm doing an interview with a basketball coach from my area for my book project. Please take a look if you have some time. I know Michigan football is the main course here, but it's helpful as a content creator to get clicks on some of the other things. But after that, I will be back Saturday night after the Nebraska game for my post-game show. Yeah, it's a 3:30 kickoff, so I'll most likely do something later on that night. I'm thinking about going to a game watch here in the DMV. We have 3 game watches. There's one in Maryland, there's one within the district, and there's actually one in Northern Virginia as well. So I'm flirting with going and watching the game with some other fans and some alumni. So either way, look for a post-game show and recap on Saturday evening. And at that hour, unlike last week, I'll be able to also take a look at some of the other action around the college football world. Anyway, everyone, if you're watching on the playback, please definitely smash that like button. If you are new, please consider subscribing. Shout out to Bo Lytle, as respect is earned. Please consider joining my newsletter. That link is in the description box below. And finally, if you want to make a donation to the channel, my Cash App and PayPal are in the description box below. And you can also leave a super thanks. I think I will take us out. Well, since Ryan Day and Lou Holtz dominated the airwaves this past weekend and then shortly afterwards. First of all, Lou Holtz, those drops are here to stay. I'm never getting rid of those Lou Holtz drops or those Ryan Day drops. But I'll take us out with the triple, since Jim was a part of that whole thing, albeit indirectly.
Sometimes people that are standing on third base think they hit a triple, but they didn't. All right, thanks.
And enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Go blue. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you the next time. If you have any comments on anything me and Alex talked about today, please leave those in the comments section below if you're watching this on the playback. All right. Bye-bye.